I didn't think my mother in law hated me. I thought she just didn't like me. There's a difference. Hate is loud. What she did was quiet. And the night I heard her praying that my pregnancy wouldn't continue, I realized it had never been dislike. It was strategy. Hi guys, welcome to my channel. We are back with another revenge story. You know how some people never yell at you, they just make you feel small in your own skin. That was Linda. She didn't scream, she didn't insult me outright. She just adjusted things, corrected me, compared me, reframed my reality. If I cooked dinner, she'd take one bite and say, "Oh, interesting. Not good, not bad, just enough to make me question." If I cleaned, she'd re-clean one corner in front of me. If I laughed too loud, she'd glance at Mark and say, "She's too expressive." Everything was subtle, everything was deniable. And the worst part, if I ever mentioned it to Mark, she'd look genuinely hurt. I love her. I don't know why she thinks I'm against her. And suddenly, I looked dramatic. When I got pregnant the first time, I was terrified and excited all at once. She hugged Mark, not me. She said, "Well, that was quick." I told myself she just needed time. At 10 weeks, the pregnancy ended unexpectedly. I don't even want to describe that day. I felt like my body had failed at something ancient and basic. While I was barely speaking, barely eating, she stood in the kitchen and said, "These things happen when women are under stress." Then she looked at me, not cruelly, not softly, just knowingly. Later that week, she asked, "Were you lifting things? You shouldn't push yourself." It wasn't comforting, it was investigative, like she needed a reason. And somehow the reason always circled back to me. For months, I replayed everything I did, every grocery bag I carried, every staircase I climbed. She never outright blamed me, but she made sure I blamed myself. 6 months later, I was pregnant again. I didn't tell her right away. I wanted to exist in happiness for just a little while. When she found out, she froze for a second. Then she hugged me and said, "Well, let's hope this one sticks." Sticks. That word. Like it was optional. After that, it got worse. Not dramatic worse, strategic worse. She started monitoring my routines. If I slept in, too much rest can make the body lazy. If I didn't rest, you are repeating old mistakes. If I ate something sweet, sugars cause inflammation. If I refused something she cooked, you think you know better than old women. It didn't matter what I did. There was always a way to frame it as risky. And I started feeling watched, like I was constantly being assessed. Like if something happened again, she'd finally get to say, "I knew it." The moment everything shifted wasn't dramatic, it was quiet. I woke up around 5 a.m. for water. The house was silent, but I heard murmuring in the living room. She was praying. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I just froze when I heard my name. "Please remove this obstacle from my son's life." My heart stopped. Then she said, "If this pregnancy doesn't continue, it will solve everything." I don't remember breathing. I don't remember blinking. I just remember realizing that the first time wasn't tragedy to her, it was relief. And now she was hoping for it again. That's when something in me hardened. I stopped trying to be like. I started paying attention. I didn't confront her. I didn't cry. I ordered a small voice recorder the next day and I started keeping my phone in my pocket whenever we spoke. I stopped defending myself. I let her talk. And when people talk long enough, they expose themselves. I screenshot texts where she told extended family she's emotionally unstable. I saved a voicemail where she said, if history repeats itself, Mark needs to reconsider his future. I took photos of the grocery list she'd suggested excluded half of what my doctor recommended. I kept dates, times, context. I wasn't gathering revenge. I was gathering proof because I knew the day would come when she'd flip the narrative. At 6 months, I had mild cramping, nothing major, but I was scared. I asked her to drive me to the clinic because Mark was at work. She looked annoyed. You panic too easily. When I insisted, she said something that made my hands go numb. If this pregnancy doesn't work out, maybe it's meant to. Meant to. Like it would be convenient. I booked a ride share. The baby was fine, but the doctor told me I needed to reduce stress immediately. Chronic stress can affect everything. I went home and realized the call was coming from inside the house. The final straw wasn't even about me. It was what she told Mark. She waited until I was upstairs. Then she told him I was exaggerating symptoms for attention, that I liked being the center of concern. And then she said, if this one doesn't continue either, you need to think about your future. That was it. That was the moment. That night, I asked Mark to sit down. No tears, no screaming. I played the recordings, her voice clear as day. If this pregnancy doesn't continue, it will solve everything. He stared at me like he didn't recognize the world anymore. Then I showed him the screenshots, the voicemails, the dates, the pattern. How, after the first loss, she started planting seeds of blame. How, during the pregnancy, she kept increasing pressure. How every comment was about if it happens again. It wasn't random, it was consistent, calculated, documented. She walked into the room halfway through, tried to say it was taken out of context. So I played a second recording, different day, same message. That was the first time she didn't have words. We moved out within 3 weeks, not dramatically, not loudly, just quietly packed and left. And something crazy happened. My blood pressure dropped. I started sleeping through the night. I stopped feeling like I was being evaluated every second. Our daughter was born, healthy, strong, perfect. Linda tried calling from different numbers, left messages saying I manipulated everything, said I poisoned her son against her. But the recordings existed, and she knew they existed. That's what really bothered her. Not losing control immediately, losing the ability to rewrite history. We went no contact, blocked numbers, filtered relatives, changed locks, permanent, not out of spite, out of safety. The truth is, I didn't win. I survived. I carried a pregnancy under psychological warfare and came out with my child intact. She wanted the pregnancy gone so her son could be free. Instead, she lost access to both of them. And the only thing that ended was her control. And that was it for today. Subscribe for more stories, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.